Good evening, my dear ones. Are you ready for a magical story? The little prince, once upon a time, on a small planet, no bigger than a house, lived a little prince. He was the only inhabitant of the planet, and he spent his days tending to his volcanoes and his beloved rose. The planet was so tiny that he could watch the sunset anytime he wanted by simply moving his chair a few steps. The little prince had one friend on his planet, his rose. She was a beautiful, delicate flower, but very proud. She had 5 petals, and every day she would ask him questions and demand his attention. He loved her dearly, though he often found her behavior puzzling. He didn't quite understand why she acted so strangely, but he was devoted to her, and he took care of her as best as he could. One day, the little prince felt the urge to leave his planet and explore the universe. He wanted to understand more about life, about people, and about what truly mattered. So he bid farewell to his rose, unsure if he would ever return, and set off on a journey through the stars. He visited many planets, and on each one he encountered different kinds of grown-ups, each more strange and perplexing than the last. The first planet he visited was inhabited by a king. The king sat on a magnificent throne, and when the little prince arrived, the king declared, "I am the ruler of the universe." "But," said the little prince, "who do you rule over? There is no one here." The king responded, "I rule over everything I see, including you, my subject." "How can you rule over me if I don't even live on your planet?" asked the little prince. The king paused, then said, "Well, then I rule over the stars, and they must obey me." But the little prince saw how lonely and isolated the king was, and he realized that, in the end, the king had real power. So he moved on. On the next planet, the little prince met a vain man. The man was so obsessed with being admired, he thought every person who passed by was a fan of his beauty. "Please applaud me," the vain man insisted. "But you have no one to applaud you," said the little prince. The vain man explained that he lived for admiration and praise. The little prince, feeling sad for him, realized that vanity could never bring true happiness, and so he continued his journey. The third planet was inhabited by a drunkard. The drunkard drank to forget, but the little prince couldn't understand what he was trying to forget. "What are you trying to forget?" asked the little prince. "I drink to forget that I am ashamed of drinking," the drunkard replied. The little prince was confused. "But that's a vicious circle," he said. And with that, he left the planet, feeling both sad and perplexed. On the next planet, the little prince met a lamplighter who was the only person on his planet. The lamplighter's job was to light a street lamp every time it went out, and then extinguish it when the time came. However, since his planet was so small, the lamp would go out and light again every minute. The little prince asked the lamplighter why he kept doing it, even though it seemed pointless. "I must obey my orders," said the lamplighter, "and I don't have time to think about anything else." The little prince admired the lamplighter's dedication, even if it didn't make much sense to him. He realized that sometimes adults get lost in their duties, even when those duties don't bring them happiness. He then moved on to the next planet. On the final planet before Earth, the little prince met a geographer who spent all his time recording information about mountains, rivers, and seas, except he had never seen any of them. The geographer didn't care about living or experiencing the world. He just wrote down facts. The little prince asked, "Why don't you go out and see the world for yourself?" "I don't have time for such things," the geographer replied. "I have to record everything accurately." Again, the little prince felt sorrow for the geographer. He knew that true knowledge comes from living, not just from recording facts. Finally, the little prince arrived on Earth, where he met an aviator stranded in the desert after his plane crashed. The aviator was busy trying to repair the plane when the little prince approached him. They quickly became friends, and the aviator listened to the little prince's stories. The little prince explained his adventures and told the aviator about his rose and the lessons he had learned. The aviator shared his own story, how he had always been in a hurry and never truly stopped to appreciate life. The little prince taught him a valuable lesson, that it is only with the heart that one can truly see. "What is essential is invisible to the eye," the little prince said. "You become responsible forever for what you have tamed. This was the wisdom the little prince had learned from his relationship with his rose. It wasn't her beauty that mattered most. It was the love and care he gave her that made her special. Eventually, the little prince came to understand that love and responsibility go hand in hand. He realized that by caring for someone, you make them unique in your heart. And when you love someone, you are responsible for their happiness, their well-being. In the end, the little prince learned that the most important things in life are invisible to the eye, but are felt deeply with the heart. Love, friendship, and connection are the things that truly matter. His rose, with all her quirks, was precious to him not because of her appearance, but because of the time he spent with her and the care he gave her.